The first ever identified kaiju and the first one to be given an ID number, Kaiju Number 1, is an interesting case. After him, only 14 other kaijus have been given an ID. This kaiju's nickname is the Future Sight Kaiju because he can see the future. Similarly to Luffy's Future Sight from One Piece or Midoriya's Danger Sense in My Hero Academia, the number 1 kaiju can also perform other interesting feats such as analyzing opponents and even seeing through them. While the defense corps succeeded in killing Kaiju Number 1, that was one hell of a battle, and then he was turned into a numbers weapon. Numbers weapons are basically suits that are made out of the bodies of these kaijus, enhancing the user's ability and tying their soul to the powers of these beasts. And just like his own name, Kaiju Number 1 was turned into numbers 1 weapon and is being used by Japan's number 1 anti-kaiju fighter, Gen Narumi. Gen utilizes Kaiju Number 1 to the fullest and leverages its future foresight abilities even better than Kaiju Number 1 ever did. So by mastering the kaiju weapon, Gen has turned himself into a certified killer because he can even keep track of other stuff like the environmental factors and the terrain. Also known as the Great Kaiju of Destruction, Kaiju Number 2 nearly destroyed the largest city in the Hokkaido province back when it first appeared in 1972. Exactly, right? This kaiju is so powerful that it can destroy an entire city in one attack. When we look at Number 2's appearance, it looks quite similar to Godzilla, but has an even more destructive power, making him one of the strongest kaijus out there. Firstly, he can throw powerful sonic blasts and other destructive energy attacks. It also uses other electromagnetic attacks, making it quite difficult to deal with. However, Kaiju Number 2 was also beaten by the defense force and then turned into a weapon for a person called Isao Shinomiya. Isao used to be the strongest soldier in the defense force, and even the badass Gen Narumi says that in combat, he would never be able to beat Isao. This is particularly because of his physical prowess being enhanced by the numbers weapon of Kaiju Number 2. After using the suit, Isao would even amplify the range of Kaiju Number 2's supersonic attacks, and even the attack that once almost destroyed the Sapporo city of Hokkaido. To make things interesting, he can even use a shield that can protect him from the strongest attacks of Kaiju Number 8 and Kaiju Number 9. Kaiju Number 4 is the weapon of one of the main protagonists, Kikuro Shinomiya. This guy has 3 eyes and is a massive flying type monster who looks similar to an insect. It can fly at immense speed, making it quite a dangerous enemy to deal with. After the user uses their number weapon, they can manifest wings and fly at high speeds just like Kaiju Number 4. This gives Kikuro the user a lot of leverage since she can destroy most enemies so fast that even the human eye won't be able to follow it. To make things interesting, this is also one of the only kaijus to have more power than one user. While the former is Kikuro, there was another person behind this suit. That was Hikara Shinomiya, Kikuro's mother. This is the king of all kaijus. While it seems like Kaiju Number 2 is the strongest and resembles Godzilla, the reality is that Kaiju Number 6 is basically based on Godzilla. He's also known as King of Kaijus, which also means King of Godzillas, being a direct reference to the original Godzilla franchise. This guy is so strong that he destroyed 200 defense officers and 3 strong captains. This kaiju is also the reason why Kikuro's mother, Hikari, died. But later on, it was also beaten down and converted into a number weapon, but no one was compatible, so it just kinda lay there. This is because this kaiju had a fortitude level of 9.6, the highest ever recorded in the series, and it wasn't until the main story appeared that it was used by someone. Kaiju Number 6 is strong because it has cytokinesis as the main ability, which allows it to create havoc by manipulating weather and causing giant snowstorms. Even after getting turned into a weapon, it emitted a cold aura for almost 10 years, but ultimately, Reno Ichikawa was the one to use it. The fact that it took almost 10 years to find a compatible user just goes to show how strong Kaiju Number 6 actually is. To make things interesting, as much story as we know now, Reno has only been able to use 51% of the total potential of this kaiju, which means there's still a huge learning curve for him in the future. This weapon suit also gives him crazy speed, and despite using just half of its power, Reno can freeze most opponents in the series. The list keeps getting interesting because now we have Kaiju number 8, the true king of all kaijus out there. He's also the main character of this anime. How, you ask? Well, unlike other weapons, Kafka Hibino never really used it in that form. One day, an unknown entity entered Kafka's body, giving him the ability to transform into a kaiju, which makes him look more intimidating and powerful than any other character out there. In his transformed state, Kafka showed the highest level of fortitude of 9.8, thanks to the powers of Kaiju number 8. This transformation is so powerful that he can take most kaijus out with just like a single punch. You could call him Saitama of the Defense Force with the powers of Ultra Instinct of Goku. His enhanced repair system is quite powerful because even if he gets the worst injuries, he would always survive, making him a really strong kaiju. His speed? Well, that's a totally different ballgame. In Kafka's fight with Soshiro Hoshina, we saw that Kaiju number 8's powers allowed him to dodge all the fastest attacks of Hoshina, which was an interesting sight to see. Other than this, Kaiju number 8 also has Energy Roar that can neutralize enemy attacks. This Energy Roar was seen against Kaiju number 9, who is the main antagonist of the series, so from there you can judge how strong Kaiju number 8 actually is. To take it up a notch, Kaiju number 8 can also disrupt the healing abilities of other characters, just like he did with Kaiju number 9 in a fistfight. Other than that, Kafka can also use shape-shifting, energy boost, and gigantification to make sure that his enemies are not gonna survive. After becoming the host of Kaiju number 8, Kafka also developed something called Kaiju Localization Sense, which allowed him to sense if another kaiju is near him. Right now, Kaiju number 8 is the strongest kaiju ever to exist, at least that's what we anime watchers believe right now. This is the tiny kaiju that was responsible for transforming Kafka into his brand new transformation. At first glance, he's weak, probably the weakest of every single kaiju out there. But we have to understand that he's more like a parasite that bridged the gap between Kaiju number 8 and Kafka, turning him into one hell of a fighter. But the history behind Mysterious Larva will shock you because it was born from the spirits of samurai who died fighting against kaiju of the past. This is also one of the reasons why this kaiju is so hostile against other kaijus. And it's no surprise that this weak parasite can turn a human into a total badass, as it is said that if Kafka were to use this transformation for more than 30 minutes, he would become a kaiju permanently. While Larva wouldn't mess with anyone that it doesn't need to, it does take over sometimes, as seen in various fights in the anime. This guy burned down the majority of Edo, earning himself the nickname of the Killer of Kaiju Slayers. What's crazy is that this guy never really got killed and was resting in a cave. Just like how the mysterious larva entered Kafka's body, this parasite enters Kaiju number 8's body. But wait a minute. Are you ready for one of the biggest reveals in this video? You see, this is one of the very few kaijus that has an immeasurable fortitude level, making him one of the most mysterious beings we've seen in the series. One of the main antagonists of Kaiju number 8, this guy was technically stopped at some point in the series, but is so undefeatable that it continues to live on. That's because the body of the Daikaiju of the Moreki era entered his body and started controlling him. Since he's the main villain, you're gonna see him with crazy powers, as he can not only create other kaijus, but also resurrect the dead ones. Moreover, after absorbing Kaiju number 2, he became so powerful that the Defense Force started calling him the new king of the kaijus. Another strong ability that is gonna shock you is that Kaiju number 9 can hold the memories of someone it consumes. And a powerful technique of Kaiju number 9 is that it can fuse with other kaijus to create new techniques and even clones to attack the enemy. To add an additional layer of craziness, this dude has insane shapeshifting and generation powers with abilities like energy attacks, force fields, and even camouflage. In other words, Kaiju number 9 is certainly one of the strongest beings to ever exist. Kaiju number 10 is the spitting image of Zakari Kenpachi from Bleach. This strong monster just wants to destroy and slay everyone without a second thought. However, after its defeat, it was turned into a numbers weapon for Soshiro Hoshina, and what's a better way to relive some of the most brutal fighting experiences than to be in Soshiro's weapon? Kaiju number 10 was also a kaiju that betrayed its creator, Kaiju number 9. It has amazing speed, strength, durability, and explosive power that allow it to really take things to the extreme in a battle setting. Moreover, Kaiju number 10 can fire strong fire projectiles and control other kaijus using sonar signals. Kaiju number 11 was also created by Kaiju number 9, and it was Narumi's victim. Why, you might ask? Well, that's because this kaiju was based on a fish with a lot of hydrokinesis abilities, and when Narumi fought Kaiju number 11, it was quite a trouble even for the strongest soldier like him. That's because on one end we have cryptokinesis, and on the other side we have a hydrokinesis enemy. Another of Kaiju number 9's creations, this dude is pretty badass too. While Kaiju number 10 was the one that betrayed Kaiju number 9, Kaiju number 12 was a perfected version of how number 10 was always supposed to be. It is also a much stronger version of Kaiju number 19. But interestingly, the one who also beats it was Soshiro Hoshina, who wields the number weapon of Kaiju number 10. Talking about Kaiju number 12's abilities, it has similar abilities to its predecessor, but mostly superior ones. The most dangerous thing about this kaiju is how easily it can adapt to any fighting style, crushing whoever comes its way. Kaiju number 13 looks the most similar to its creator, Kaiju number 9. With a fortitude level of 9.2, and the third highest in the series, it caused a lot of destruction throughout. It also fought against Kaiju number 8, which was the only kaiju that could defeat it, killing it instantly. Kaiju number 14 is the most interesting creation in the series because it takes the shape of a parallelepiped. It comes in a jet black color and has multiple faces that are not only looking intimidating but also provide levitation, teleportation, energy attacks, and force field abilities. While it doesn't have many physical attributes, it does wreak havoc whenever needed. The last kaiju to be given a number, Kaiju number 15, has a plethora of brains attached to its body. It ultimately became Kikori's victim, but before that, it really manipulated Kikori from the start to the end. I guess those brains aren't just for fun. Just like that, her abilities are always to psychologically manipulate her opponents. It can do mental controls, which she did against Kikori, but ultimately failed. And that's it for every kaiju in Kaiju number 8 explained. Which one would you like to see next? Comment down below, and as always, subscribe to our channel and ring that bell icon for more. I'll catch you next time.